tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, twakusihi ututazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao umerithika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Twakuomba ututeremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kuyafikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu, na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amina. Amen. Yep. Can you ring the division bell? Quorum. Now we can start.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
So, honour members, I wish to make this communication. As you may recall, I recently guided the House with respect to the expected expeditious consideration of a bill introduced in the House pursuant to the provisions of Article 257 of the Constitution, which deals with amendment of the Constitution by popular initiative. The House is also aware that the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, promoted by the Building Bridges Initiative, BBI, is currently undergoing public participation before the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs and the Senate Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs, and Human Rights. The committees are expected to report to the respective houses on or before Tuesday, 23rd of March, 2021. Honourable members, in keeping with the requirements of Article 257, Clause 7 of the Constitution, the House Business Committee prioritized the bill to be considered immediately upon resumption of the House. In this regard, the bill is scheduled to undergo consideration in second reading, committee of the whole House, and third reading immediately the House resumes from the short recess, so that the process may be concluded by Saturday, 27th March 2021. Honourable members, it is important to note that this is the very first time that this House is dealing with a bill of this kind. Further, Article 257, Clause 8 of the Constitution provides that, and I quote, "A bill under this article is passed by Parliament if supported by a majority of the members of each House." Close the quotes. Honourable members, this requirement places emphasis on the need for participation of all members in the consideration of a bill proposing to amend the Constitution by popular initiative. In this regard, and in order to accord the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 the necessary time and attention, particularly review of the provisions of Article 257, Clause 7 of the Constitution, during its meeting held on Tuesday, 9th of March 2021, the House Business Committee resolved that any committee sittings and activities scheduled to be held during the period of the consideration of the bill in the House are held within the precincts of Parliament. To this end, this to notify all members and committee leaderships that no committee sittings or activities will be held outside the precincts of Parliament during the consideration of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, promoted by the BBI, which is expected to be concluded at the end of the month of March 2021. I also direct the Clerk of the National Assembly to ensure compliance with this directive, and the House is accordingly guided. Thank you.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Take your seat, please, so that member for Kitui. You can take that seat next there. Member for Gilgil. Honourable members, starting under 225, Section 2, Paragraph B requires the Speaker to report to the House any petition other than those presented through a member. I therefore wish to confirm to the House that my office has received a petition regarding the removal of Ms. Tabitha Mutemi as a member of the Media Council of Kenya. Honourable members, the petition is signed by one Muriuki Muriungi, advocate, on behalf of KMK Africa Law Advocates, or PO Box 51957-00100 Nairobi, stating that Ms. Tabitha Mutemi has acted in gross misconduct and in breach of the Constitution and several other laws of the Republic by holding 2 public offices. The petitioner contends that Ms. Mutemi has inter alia violated the following provisions of the Constitution and written law. 1. Article 77, Clause 1 of the Constitution, which restricts full-time state officers from participating in any other gainful employment by knowingly serving as a member of the Media Council of Kenya, MCK, while at the same time being a full-time employee of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, in brackets IEBC, as the manager for corporate communications. 2, Article 201, Clause D, Paragraph D of the Constitution, regarding prudent and responsible use of public funds by allegedly drawing emoluments both as a member of the Media Council and an employee of the IEBC, amounting to wastage of public funds. 3, Section 2, Subsection 1, Paragraph B of the 4th Schedule to the IEBC Act, which provides that members and staff of the Commission shall not, during the tenure of office, be eligible for appointment to another public office by knowingly taking up appointment as a member of the Media Council of Kenya Board while on full-time employment at the IEBC. And 4, Section 26, Subsection 2 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, which restricts full-time state officers from participating in any other gainful employment. Honourable members, the petitioner further claims that Ms. Tabitha Mutemi acted in gross misconduct, insubordination, by her failure to adhere to lawful directions and advisory by her superiors and appointing authority. In particular, the petitioner cites disregard for the advisory of the Attorney General and the Principal Secretary, Ministry of ICT, Information, Innovation and Youth Affairs, to the effect that it was not tenable for her to lawfully hold 2 state or public offices, and she ought to have relinquished either her membership to the Media Council of Kenya or employment with the IEBC. In this regard, honourable members, the petitioner therefore prays that the National Assembly considers the petition, and 1, resolves that the petition discloses grounds for the removal of Ms. Tabitha Mutemi as a member of the Media Council of Kenya, as provided for under Section 14 of the Media Council Act, and 2, recommends to the Cabinet Secretary for ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs to appoint a tribunal to investigate Ms. Tabitha Mutemi in accordance with the provisions of Section 14 of the Media Council Act. Honourable members, a petition of this nature is similar to those contemplated to be processed in the manner provided for in Standing Order number 230 regarding petitions for removal of a member of a commission or a holder of an independent office. Having determined that the matters raised by the petitioners are well within the authority of this House, I order that, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 230, this petition is hereby committed to the Departmental Committee on Communications, Information and Innovation. The committee should consider the petition and guide the House by way of a report on whether the petition satisfies the requirements of Section 14 of the Media Council Act and any other relevant laws relating to the grounds for removal of a chairperson or member of the Media Council of Kenya. Honourable members, Section 14, Subsection 3 of the Media Council Act requires the National Assembly to conclude a petition for removal of a member of the Council within 7 days. However, given that the House will proceed on short recess from tomorrow, the counting of days will commence upon resumption of the House on 23rd of March 2021. Finally, honourable members, I will hasten to remind the committee that the process of removal of a person from office is quasi-judicial in nature, hence calling for judicious attention and moderation. In this regard, I implore upon the committee to exhaustively examine each of the grounds and the particulars claimed by the petitioner with a view to unequivocally determining whether or not the petition discloses grounds for removal of Ms. Tabitha Mutemi from office. I thank you, honourable members.
Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements. Order number 8, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2021, second reading.
Well, when the person had given the chance to speak and not even commenced. So if you want to give an intervention, member for North Hall.
Mr. Speaker, I was just preparing to contribute to the next motion.
Oh, okay. Very well. The one who follows there is a member for point of order is raised by
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to raise on...
But when you come here and you intend to speak, please carry your card. The member for Muranga, and I know you are a very diligent ranking member of the House.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My apologies. Mr. Speaker, I rise on standing order number 95, and based on the mood of the House, Mr. Speaker, I would request that the mover is called to reply on this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is that the mood of the House? Yes. Yes. If the member for Kangema could take his seat so that we can test this mood. The very mobile member for Tiati, is it? Well, honourable members, as you all heard, the member for Muranga, the Honourable Sabina Chege, she is also called Maito, among other many names, rose in a place and claimed that, understanding order number 95, that the mover be called upon to reply. And therefore, put the question that the mover be called upon to reply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Honorable Speaker, thank you so much. I want to thank members for their contribution, and I beg to reply.
Honour members. Honour members, I invite you to look at honour members, those of you who are making your way, can you take seats? I call on the stand. Members, take your seats. Honour members. Honour members, you know you could express yourselves in very many ways. But once you get into the chamber, please, you must observe some order and decorum. I put the question, which is that the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2021, be read a second time. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Honour members, you are within your right to claim for a division. You are within your right to claim for a division. So there's no need for too much cacophony. Do they meet the count? Have you counted? Eh? Very well, very well, very well. No, don't. Honorable Osoro. Is this Osoro? This Honorable Osoro. Don't worry about. You have claimed for a division. The only thing that is required is for the clerks to count, and they have counted and found that you have the numbers. You have the numbers to claim for a division. Yes. So what is the cause for alarm now? So you can now relax. We proceed with the next stage. There are 34. Now, order members, order. Order members, we can never run a house this way. Order members who are on your feet, can you sit? Resume your seats. You claimed for a division, you got it. So you sit down. There are procedures in this house. And I've encouraged many of you to constantly remind yourselves. Once it has been announced that you got the numbers, which you had, the next thing is you resume your seats so that we can go to the next stage, which is that the division bell be rung for not more than 10 minutes. So there's no need for shouting. You are okay. You are within your right to claim for division. Ring the division bell. But honor members,
Social distance. Social distance. Social distance. No CDF, no business. No CDF.
Hii Kenya sio watu wachache. No, Kenya.
Honor members, honor members, honor members, honor members. Honor members, honor members. Take your seats, take your seats. Order, members, order. Take your seats. Members, take your seats, please. No, members. Please, it doesn't matter really. You are all honorable members. I understand fully. Honorable members, I understand fully. A number of you have explained to me the cause for this very unusual behavior. Late in the evening. A number of you have requested that I allow you to make some interventions. Yeah, honorable members, a number of you have indicated that you want to get some intervention before you take the vote. Honorable members, whether or not you take the vote or not, or you want to take the vote, it's up. Now, honorable members, please, please don't drag me to go to standing order number 207. Please. It's not necessary, you're almost going to the 4th year, isn't it? Or you are in the 5th year. You not get a good name for, and there's no need really. I fully understand why many of you are so agitated. But honorable members, because I got some saying yes, you want to ventilate, others saying no. But let me just say one or two things about the process that we are about to engage in. This is a member for Suba North. Honourable members, as you are all aware that the issue of the place of the Division of Revenue Bill in Kenya since 2013 has been a controversial one. And you are aware, those of you who are in the 11th Parliament, that this matter was taken by our sister house to the Supreme Court. After this house and passed the then Division of Revenue Bill 2013 without involving the Senate. There was, at that time, an advisory from the Supreme Court, which decreed that the Senate must be involved in the processing, if anything, if only to comply with the provisions of Article 96, that they participate. So the Supreme Court did affirm that they needed to participate in the passage of the Division of Revenue Act. And you all know that the Division of Revenue Bill or Act, once passed, paves the way for the processing of the County Allocation of Revenue Act in terms of Article 218(1)(b). Subsequently, honourable members, you will also recall that in 2019, the issue of the Division of Revenue Bill again found its way in the Supreme Court. I don't know whether many of you are aware of what the court decreed and insisted now stress the point that this advisory opinion must be taken as an order of court. The long and short of the decision was that Parliament, meaning the two houses, shall not pass an Appropriations Act without first there being a Division of Revenue Act. So, honour members, we have to comply with that Supreme Court decision. It's for that reason I believe the chairman and the entire Committee of Budget and Appropriations have been pushing for us to consider this Division of Revenue Bill so that once we are through with it, we take it to the Senate so that they also consider it in good time so as to allow for the other processes which would allow or kick in the process of releasing funds. But that is for the next financial year. As you know, it is titled Division of Revenue Bill 2021. I am aware that the issues which have angered many of you, especially those from the 290 constituencies, is a failure by the National Treasury of the Republic. It's a failure by the National Treasury of the Republic of Kenya, first, to release all the funds for the National Government Constituency Development Fund for the period, for the financial year 2019-2020. There's a balance. I have been told, it's almost the same thing, TJ. I have been informed that there is a balance which has not been remitted. Whatever the reasons, I agree with you, honourable members. You have a reason to demand that those funds be released to the CDF board for onward transmission to the constituencies that are owed. But more importantly, I'm also informed that even for this financial year, which is barely 3 months to end, 3 months away to end, quite substantial sums of CDF have not been released to the board. That I understand, honourable members, to be the reason why many of you would prefer to do something different from what you normally do in the chamber. I want to appeal to you and beseech you not to do that. I want to not to refuse. I'm not, honourable members. I am only laying these facts bare. I am not saying that you act one way or the other. But it obviously means that if, as you desire, from what I've heard, if you vote in the negative for the second reading of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2021, it means unless you again, as a House, through a special motion, yeah, you see, many of the people saying they know, it therefore means also this bill cannot be introduced again before 6 months are over. Yet, honourable members, that notwithstanding, honourable members are also aware that the National Treasury has submitted supplementary estimates, supplementary budget, which is before the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Honorable members, you have the power. That is where the power. That's where what you want to do, where you want to exercise it is there. The supplementary budget estimates are with the Budget and Appropriations Committee, which have been formed. You intend to call to. You want to request for a special sitting to come and consider. It is in that bill where you need to come and take the action which you want to take. For now, honorable members, well, I hear some of you say we are aware. So it is good. It is very good when everybody is aware that what you do is likely to lead to this or the other steps, which may include, among others, of course, even us having to shut, because what is the point of even coming for that special sitting? Why will you need to come to do the? Who has come? Why are you coming to do the supplementaries? Honorable members. So, honorable members, my plea to you is, let's not take precipitate action. Honorable members, I hear you. Yeah? Some of you want to ventilate on the matter. Yeah? So, honorable, do I allow some of you, a few of you? Yes? Let me allow the member for Uguja. Honorable Wandai.
Mr. Speaker, how I wish my colleague members would give me a hearing. The Speaker, on this matter of CDF, we are all in it. But let me just say one or two things. Mr. Speaker, those who are, the Speaker, given that the cause of this stalemate is the failure of the National Treasury to release the CDF funds, in the circumstances, Mr. Speaker, it would be advisable that we put on hold the vote, but then give the National Treasury a maximum of, say, 7 days to release the funds to the CDF board, and then we come back to take the vote. That is a middle ground, honorable members. That's a middle ground, honorable members. The standing orders allow the Speaker to postpone the vote on any motion, and indeed on any bill. And therefore, the best route, in my view, honorable Speaker, is to postpone the vote and allow the National Treasury to release all the funds to the board for us to proceed in the best manner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You see, Member for Kikuyu. Member for Kikuyu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as much as there are a lot of loud consultations, Honorable Speaker, would you kindly protect me from the Vice Chair security? Honorable Speaker, I've keenly listened to you in your communication and advice to the House on this matter. And Honorable Speaker, I want to, in a very humble way, submit first, I think I now qualify as an elder of this House, serving in my second term, and having served in the Powers and Privileges Committee as an elder in the last Parliament, if you can protect me from the member for Narok South, Mr. Speaker. And also, from my experience, Mr. Speaker, as the Chair Emeritus of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Honorable Speaker, what you have enumerated is indeed true. And the matter before the House is a very heavy matter for this House. And we may rush, and as you have said, rightly so, emotions at this time are quite high. And we may rush to make a decision, Honorable Speaker, that of course may have consequences that are not very good for the country to begin with, the people we represent, and even our own constituencies, Honorable Speaker. I have belabored to listen to the member for Ugunja, who amidst a lot of noise was trying to ask the House and yourself to, if the standing orders allow us to defer the vote as much as we're in the voting period, Honorable Speaker, so that we do not rush into making a decision today, Honorable Speaker, that we may also suffer consequences on. And what you have said, Honorable Speaker, is indeed true. The Division of Revenue Bill, or what we give rise to the Division of Revenue Act, Honorable Speaker, is about the vertical division of revenues between the national and the county governments. Members are asking themselves, why is it that you want to give money to county governments at the expense of the national government CDF fund? And that is a justifiable question, Honorable Speaker. And the simple answer is what you have given in your communication, that without the vertical division of revenue, there is no Appropriations Act to even share the national government share of revenue even to NGCDF. And that is why I want to beg, Honorable Speaker, that we soberly relook into this issue. I know emotions have been raised by things that we have even said to each other. And I want to ask even our leaders in this House, particularly our leader of majority, Honorable Kimunya. When members were ventilating on this issue, Mr. Speaker, because you were seated in the chamber and Honorable Kimunya walked into the members' lobby, he dared to threaten members of Parliament that he could ask the President to dissolve this House. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, it is those rather unfortunate sentiments because you do not ask people for support by threatening them, in any way trying to coerce them, or even intimidate them in any manner. It is by talking and persuading to people that you persuade them with reason, Honorable Speaker. And I want to use reason, Honorable Speaker, just like you have, to ask members. It is between us and the people that we represent. And our asking for NGCDF funds, we are not asking for a favor from Ukuri Atani or anybody. Not even the President of the Republic. NGCDF Act is an act enacted by this Parliament, Honorable Speaker, and it is not money that goes to these members' pockets. It is money that goes to development activities in the constituencies of the people we represent. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, you see the emotions are quite high. And I want to ask that we all bring down our emotions, Honorable Speaker, that we let reason to prevail. And if it is possible, to defer voting, Honorable Speaker, at this particular time. We defer voting, and we have time for people to ventilate a little bit, and also have time for the leadership to soberly engage with members in whichever forum that we'll be able to engage. Because this is not about Kimunya, Kimunya can go and he may go. It is not about Duale, who is already gone. It is not about Kimani Ichung'wah, who is already gone. It is not about Kanini Kega, my friend. It is about the people that we represent. And I want to beg, Honorable Speaker, I want to beg that if, Honorable Speaker, you can use your normal Solomonic wisdom to defer voting today, Honorable Speaker, to any other appropriate time once we have engaged. Honorable Speaker, I think it will be the right thing to do for the country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Junet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving an opportunity to ventilate on this matter. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important matter, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, this is a very important matter, and the issues being raised by members of this House, Mr. Speaker, are very important matters, Mr. Speaker. Irrespective of our party affiliations, irrespective of where we come from, the issue the members are raising, Mr. Speaker, this is a very important issue, Mr. Speaker, because it is about their work at the constituency level, Mr. Speaker. Because every member of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, will be held accountable at the end of his term for what he has done for his people. Not for what he has done for government, not for what he has done for other people, what he has done specifically for his constituents or our constituents, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, since last Parliament, Mr. Speaker, this is the first time I have seen 3 months to the end of a financial year, Mr. Speaker, there is no money that has gone to the CDF board, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know why the Minister for Finance, the Treasury Minister, cannot explain to the CDF committee, cannot explain to the Budget and Appropriation Committee, cannot explain even to this House what is causing this delay, take members through, so that members can be fully aware of what is happening, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, why members are agitated is because members have been kept in darkness on what's happening, Mr. Speaker. When they speak to their fund managers, they are told there is no money that has come, and counties are, now we want to do the division of revenue bill to give counties to the money to the counties, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we must agree as a House that this is an important issue to all of us, Mr. Speaker. For that reason, I want to support what Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah said, Mr. Speaker. We leave this matter in abeyance so that we can negotiate with Treasury. When they pay the CDF, we shall pass this bill. For now, we suspend the voting for now. Yeah, for now, we suspend the voting. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, yeah, Mr. Speaker, let us...
Honour members, even if you're in agreement, honour members, you allow him to finish.
Mr. Speaker, it is my humble request that we suspend the voting process today, Mr. Speaker, because you have told us properly the consequences of whichever way this vote goes, Mr. Speaker. If it goes through, well and good. If the bill is lost, Mr. Speaker, the consequences will be bigger. And we, us as leadership, responsibility comes with leadership, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to put the country in a situation where it cannot move forward, Mr. Speaker. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, we have a special sitting. I think in few days, we can sort out this issue of CDF, we can agree on a way forward, then we bring this bill, we vote on it, and we will pass unanimously, all of us, Mr. Speaker. With those remarks, Mr. Speaker, that is our position, and I think that is the best route for us. Now Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank you for indulging us and for telling us the importance of this bill, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much.
Honourable Duale.
Mr. Speaker, first I want to thank you because procedurally you have allowed us to ventilate when we are to take a vote. That I think you have used standing order number 1, and we want to thank you for that. Mr. Speaker, the matter before, I have been here for 14 years, and there are many people who served in the 10th Parliament. CDF is a very emotive issue, even during the Kibaki's government and Prime Minister Raila Odinga when we were in the Grand Coalition government. And I agree, it is the first time I have seen 3 months to the end of financial year, some constituencies, majority, have not even received a penny. And Mr. Speaker, this matter was boiling and was on the corridors of Parliament the last 2 weeks. And I think it's incumbent upon the Minister for Finance and your office and the office of the leadership to always consult and make sure that we don't reach this stage. But Mr. Speaker, I really want to beg my colleagues and ask them that our case is very genuine, but we should not. One of the toughest valleys in Kenya, if you happen to know it, and if you go into that valley, to come out is difficult. It's called Suguta Marmar Valley in Samburu. I don't want us to go into that. We are faced with this animal called Division of Revenue Bill. In fact, if it's about counties, we should have denied. If it was a county allocation of revenue bill, we could have refused to pass it, because that one is giving money to counties. But this division of revenue bill, Mr. Speaker, is a vertical division between through levels of government. Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, there are two things that binds this House to pass this bill. One is the Supreme Court. I'm saying we have to pass it subject. I'm saying we will pass subject to the CDF issues. That's what I'm going. So, as we saw the issue of CDF, the Speaker, the only route available tonight is you step down. I hope as we are talking, we step down this matter. And to tell the leadership and the chair of budget, if you read Standing Order 233.3, it gives you only 10 days from the day this thing is tabled. If you listen to the advisory opinion of the Supreme Court, number 3 of 2019, it says this House cannot enact an appropriation act without passing. So, Mr. Speaker, I think you can use Standing Order number 1 to postpone this item tonight. It is very volatile. Very volatile. Between now, let us even come back for a special sitting next Thursday. But between now and Thursday, we sort out this issue of CDF so that we don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. Let us not throw away this bill because of the issues of CDF. I really indulge you, Mr. Speaker. In fact, you can use Standing Order number 1, shelve this bill so that we can vote the next sitting, either special or 23rd. Between that window we have the chair of CDF, the chair of budget, the leadership, and the executive go and sort out this CDF 2020-2021. I rest my case.
Member for Kitutu Churches, is it South? I try as much as possible to know the exact name of the constituency. The Honorable Richard Momoina Onyonka.
Ndugu Spika, ni eneo wakilishi la Kitutu Chache Kusini.
Kabisa.
Ndugu Spika, ningependa kusema hivi. Mimi niko kwa kamati ya budget. Sisi tulimuita waziri Yatani tukamwelezea hivi. Mheshimiwa wa Munyinyi ambaye ndiye mwenyekiti.
I allowed you, honorable to weigh. I just allowed for people to ventilate. Oh, mask.
Asante.
Honorable Nyonka, please. Look for a mask. I don't know, members, please, on this question of masks.
Ilikuwa imeanguka, pole.
I'm just trying to, not about that, but I'm just saying, honorable members, please.
Asante.
let us even in committees, because it has been reported to me that we have a tendency when we go to committees not to wear masks. It has been reported. And as you know, I'm sure if you look around, you will see one or two of your colleagues not here. You don't ask where they are. It is this new variant.
Asante ndugu Spika, utaniwia radhi. Ningependa kusema kuwa kama mwanachama ambaye yuko katika kamati ya bunge ya bajeti, tulimwambia waziri Yatani kuwa sisi tulisikia mawaidha ya mwenyekiti wa Munyinyi, akamwambia kuwa wabunge wako hapa wamesema hawataki kuzungumzia swala la ugavi wa pesa nchi hii kama swala la CDF halijozungumziwa. Jambo la pili, ndugu Spika, yale ambayo tulizungumzia ni kuwa hata kwa yale makamati machairman wa kamati ambao walikuwa wameleta mswada kujadiliwa na kuzungumzia vile pesa za serikali zinagawa, yale mawaidha yao hayakusikizwa. Jambo la tatu, ndugu Spika, mwenyekiti wetu wa budget Kanini Kega alimwambia CS, usipoenda uzungumze na rais, umwambie wabunge hawatapitisha huu mswada kama hamtabadilisha yale mambo wabunge wanataka, hatutapitisha huu mswada. Kwa hivyo ndugu Spika, vile wenzangu wamesema, tutaachilia kulijadilia hili jambo. Tunataka siku karibu 5, 6, 7 tuzungumze kati yetu. Tunataka CDF irudishwe, pesa zetu ziletwe, alafu tuanze kuzungumzia mambo ya ugavi wa hela zinazoenda kwa county. Hayo mambo yasipofanyika, ndugu Spika, huu mswada hautapita. Asante.
Member Voyata, is it? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I have your audience, we are politicians. Our profession is politics, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we know we have been reading between the lines. And Mr. Speaker, it's good that you have allowed us to ventilate. One thing why we are very disappointed, Mr. Speaker, if you recall barely about 2 weeks ago, there was a move even to censure the CS Treasury. It took a lot of intervening for members to go slow on that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members are aware that the CS Treasury, Yatani, was against the current CEO of the CDF board. Members are aware. So we can read Mr. Speaker, we can read between the lines. What has annoyed us, Mr. Speaker, is a letter which, in response to the letter which the CEO, CDF, requested money from the Treasury, the letter which was written by one Mr. Moya, of course on instructions of the CS, was a very rude letter, Mr. Speaker, basically saying there's no money. We all sit in committees. If there's no money, why are you bringing supplementary budget in the first place? So, Mr. Speaker, to summarize on this matter, if you want us to move ahead, we only have one way forward, Mr. Speaker. We defer the entire matter, we go on recess. When we come back, let's find there's money in the account. That's the only way, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, standing order number 1 allows you, even if the bell of division has been called, to postpone everything else, Mr. Speaker. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the current leader of majority, Mr. Speaker, has no respect for members of parliament, Mr. Speaker. The biggest complaint, Mr. Speaker, he assumes he can run this house with only the chairmen of committee. That's what he assumes. And the chairmen of committee have no respect for him. You need to borrow from your predecessor. You must negotiate with every member of parliament if you are going to be able to run this house. And I don't need to remind you what you went through in the 10th parliament. It can happen again. There's enough time. Thank you.
Do I see somebody, member for, who is that member? The member raising a hand up. Oh, member for Kadara.
Mama, hi. Hi. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. You know, I don't want to join Miri Othiambo because she has a different trademark. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to this issue. I was one of the members that were saying no CDF, no quorum. Mr. Speaker, because my CDF account, or our CDF account for the constituency, has received 2 disbursements, one of 9 million and another one of 8 million. Mr. Speaker, today we are in March. So the total amount Kandara has received is 17 million. And I am told there are members who have received less than that, or no shilling. 0, Mr. Speaker. So we are not speaking to issues that are politics. We are speaking to issues about development, about projects in the constituencies, and particularly the issue of bursaries. Coming from the COVID situation, Mr. Speaker, it is dire that the minister understands that he cannot continue to behave or to conduct business in the manner in which he has. I say that, Mr. Speaker, because the CS Treasury has been advised by 2 committees, the Committee of Budget and the Committee of Finance. And he has either decided to defy or to do his own things, Mr. Speaker, meaning either he places no value to members of parliament or to our work, or, Mr. Speaker, that the government has decided to frustrate members of parliament. And this is actually almost the last year before elections. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Kimunya, the majority leader, made a very grave mistake, and that has informed the mood that you saw on the floor. He threatened members with the dissolution of the House. And that is true this afternoon. And this he was doing to whip. How do you threaten members with the dissolution of the House? Would he not be part of the dissolution, Mr. Speaker? And unfortunately, he quoted that, of course, the dissolution will be by the head of state. I don't think he had such a brief, Mr. Speaker. He needs to go back and maybe learn about PR, Mr. Speaker. Then the budget chair, Mr. Speaker, we put to task the budget chair, Kanini Kega, member for Kieni, as to where the money is. He said there is a schedule that will be attached to the supplementary budget. I told him, among other members, that we want to see an allocation, not a schedule. And the schedule, according to most members, is a promissory note. Mr. Speaker, a promissory note doesn't have to be honored. We wanted to see where the 13 billion is. Mr. Speaker, we understand this deficit has been created because the old debts have benefited from allocation from this budget. Mr. Speaker, you know, we cannot continue working like that. And I know we were ready to vote, and we are still ready to vote. But we do also want to hear the advice, or to kind of consider the proposals on the floor, because it could be a win-win. I hear this day, you know, we are in the era of win-win situation. So if we will defer to be able to get our CDF in the account, and Mr. Speaker, there are also, the leadership is in a problem, because I think some leadership have paid themselves the entire CDF in their accounts. There is that in their accounts. So they really don't care about members. And that is something that needs to be investigated. Another one, although, Mr. Speaker, I may not have the material, evidential material, is that the budget committee has also allocated themselves an extra 100 million shillings. Shame. Mr. Speaker, I want to go in to take the middle line, and you know, the colleagues, members, majority here, all of us without any boundaries. We are in agreement that the CDF is priority, and therefore we could be persuaded to actually defer, but the deferring must be followed by action. Yeah. We want the money in the accounts of the constituencies. We don't know whether Kenya is broke. It cannot be broke. It cannot be broke. See, we know we have agreed that Kenya is not broke. The other one, Mr. Speaker, is that we want to see the allocation of the remaining money in a supplementary budget, because Kanini Kega said he will bring in the second supplementary budget. We don't want that, Mr. Speaker. So it cannot be in the, Mr. Kanini, you know, you are proposing, I'm not saying that is what you wanted to do, but there was a proposal, because it is not in the supplementary budget, it could come to the second. But also, there was observation that there may not be, and there will not be, the second supplement. So it has to be in this supplementary budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let's hear the member for Suba North. And then we hear the chair of the CDF Select Committee. I mean, there's a lot of all this about CDF, and I think it's only fair we hear. He's here in the chamber. The Honorable Amunyinyi. Honorable Millie, please.
Thank you. None? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I can see my good friend, Honorable Charles Kilonzo, is trying to give me some update. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I sit in the Budget Committee, and we have been sitting for very long hours. We sit until 1. Yesterday, I think we sat until, was it yesterday or the day before, we sat until, I think, almost 9. And Mr. Speaker, part of the reason we are sitting until long is because we have been unable to agree with the CS. I was very categorical to the CS in the same manner that members are speaking here. And I told the CS, I have been in this house and I can read the mood. And I told him the mood of the house is foul. And unless you deal with what the members are saying, you are in for a big problem. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that let us also as members walk in one direction. Let us not be divided. CDF affects all of us. As a matter of fact, budget has not yet made any decision. We got a presentation from the CS, and after that, they said they had made some corrections. We told them you cannot make corrections without consulting the departmental committees that came before us. And because of that, we refused, because he was actually persuading us and rushing that we bring the supplementary today. We refused as a budget committee, and we said we must hear members so that all these things that are flying all over. I think let us also not be divided. There is always divide and rule. You will hear rumors like what my friend Charles is telling me. Oh, this chairman has put this has put that. Bring it to us as a budget committee so that we see if it is true. But better still, Mr. Speaker, I think the most important thing, so that the CS can see how serious it is, let him not just appear before the budget committee. Let him come before a Kamkunji of this house, so that he can know that members are serious. Mr. Speaker, on the one hand, I think sometimes these things have a blessing. In my constituency, I'm glad Alice is saying she has received 18 million. My constituency has received none, because I had not been paid almost 80 million in past budgets. And I'm glad because one member of my constituency went and reported to the police that we have stolen that money. So I went to CDF and said, here, they've said we have stolen this money. Thank you, because now I have received my 80 million. I'm only waiting for the AIE so that Suba people can get. But having received 80, past, not current. Yes, 80 million. I've been dwelling there. Mr. Speaker, now that I've received my 80 million, I am now at 0 in the current financial. It may sound a lot that I've received a lot, but it is 80 of 2019, 2020. And now I'm receiving now, and I told the CS there is no way we are going to move when other members have arrears. Me, I inherited that problem. I came and found arrears. So in trying to catch up, and we keep being pushed back, when will we ever catch up and clear that? So let them give all the members with arrears who have no problems their money. And let them give the members, let that be in the current budget, the past or the pending bills be in this budget. Let the 2020-2021 be in this budget. Because there's no way, Mr. Speaker, I even told him if you actually look at the supplementary, and I mentioned it here, that the supplementary budget, even if you look at the law, should be dealing with unforeseen issues. But it is budget, it's actually business as usual, and you are being told, oh, we can't get for CDF. But if you actually look at certain budget lines, there are even new projects, Mr. Speaker. Why can't, yes, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Charles is seeking to inform me.
Do you want to be informed?
Yes, I'm willing to be informed, then I can conclude in 1 minute.
Very well, Charles Kilonzo.
Go to Rosa, go to Rosa.
No.
Corona. Here. Don't give me corona.
I would wish to inform the good friend of mine that the particular CS, in a matter which our committee handled, had allocated so much money in his own county. In his own county, from one committee. And in another committee, a matter which was prosecuted in this house, he also allocated more money in his own county.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to indicate that that has not been brought to our attention as a budget committee. So I would not want to infer improper motive on somebody without information. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, I want to acknowledge that you, even when you exercise your discretion under Article 1, Mr. Speaker, you cannot exercise it on a matter that actually has very clear provisions in the standing orders. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, let us ventilate and let us use our political intelligence and influence to, it is a political intelligence, Mr. Speaker, without actually saying this. I think members know what I'm talking about. Let us use our political intelligence to make sure that the CS comes here next week. Mr. Speaker, even if we are we've gone up country for recess, on issues of CDF, people are struggling, people don't have bursary. We are willing to come back, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Can we hear the chair of CDF Select Committee? Honorable Amunyinyi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the chance also to ventilate. I think I'll be ventilating also. First, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the intervention, the decision you've taken using your power, understanding orders, to allow members to ventilate on this issue and to defer the vote. Mr. Speaker, briefly, yesterday, my committee had a session with the Cabinet Secretary on the sideline of another meeting with the Budget Committee. Mr. Speaker, and we took through the CS the facts as they are and the consequences. First, Mr. Speaker, I did point out to the CS that many children from poor families are out of school. Those who rely on bursaries, they are out of school. Mr. Speaker, I also informed the CS that continuing projects funded by CDF have stalled. And when projects stall, Mr. Speaker, the costs escalate. And of course, it affects, the communities. Mr. Speaker, we also pointed out to the CS that delay or even failure to release CDF funds is a breach of the law. And we made that very clear, Mr. Speaker. We then went into the record and explained clearly to show that there is so much that have not been released. And this started with the last year, the last financial year, 2019-2020 financial year, Mr. Speaker, when 13.78 billion were not released. So it brought the figure to about 59 billion, Mr. Speaker. And out of that, only 26 billion has been received. 26 billion has been received, Mr. Speaker. So we agreed, after we explained to the CS, Mr. Speaker, we agreed with him that there was a need to release the funds and to make sure that by June, there will be no outstanding coin for financial year 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021, so that there will be no arrears carried forward. I did, Mr. Speaker, then do a presentation to the Budget Committee, which is chaired by our friend Kanini Kega. And I did present the paper which pointed out what we had agreed with the CS. And Mr. Speaker, I'll be tabling it in a short while, but let me just explain what we agreed. Mr. Speaker, number one, we agreed that the Cabinet Secretary who had undertaken and committed that he's going to clear all the remaining balances for financial year 2020-2021 by latest 30th of April. And he said, because of cash flow problems, he was going to release 2 billion every week. That is what was agreed. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, let me finish, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, the arrears of 13.74 billion will be cleared between 1st of May and 30th of June. This he also committed that he was going to do. Mr. Speaker, because of this understanding, this agreement, we proposed to the Budget Committee, in the presence of the CS, that these funds for the past financial year be captured in the current supplementary budget. That is a proposal we did give to the committee, Mr. Speaker. And the arrears of 4.9 billion, which has some historical issues, I'm not sure about, Mr. Speaker, and are subject to discussion, can be considered in the main budget if there would have been some agreement of some sort. So, Mr. Speaker, after that, we left the Budget Committee now to relook at the issue. But, Mr. Speaker, this morning I did receive another letter from a copy of a letter from the PS Treasury. And this letter, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately I don't have a hard copy, but this letter was also now undertaking, giving an undertaking that the Treasury was going to expeditiously disperse all the balances, 41 billion. I mean, Mr. Speaker, since we are now talking as a family, as a house, and we have agreed to give time to allow, if we are devouring this vote, we'll definitely agree that the CS would even be invited to talk to us, talk to members, so that we can agree. But what is most important, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I have got a list of all the beneficiaries, all the monies that have been received, and how it has been released to the constituencies. There are those constituencies, Mr. Speaker, some colleagues, members, who never received last year's allocation. And that has been the main problem, because they were now paid. I like Honorable Milo Odhiambo, she confessed she has received 8 million for last financial year. But that money for last year has not been released, because when the year ended, there was no provision for it. Again, Mr. Speaker, we have agreed that all this money must be paid to the constituencies in the shortest possible time. But the problem, Mr. Speaker, sometimes this CS does not fulfill his promises. The CS doesn't fulfill his promises. Because in the past he has said, if he was committed to the promises he made in the past, we would not be where we are. Members will not be complaining and yelling as the way they are, Mr. Speaker. So if the CS can commit, release, in fact I told him, release some lump sum. Then you can talk of, the weekly installments, weekly payments, disbursements, which would ensure that by April 30, you are done with the 41 billion. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Junet would like to inform you, and I'm willing to be informed. Then I'll continue, Mr. Speaker.
Information.
He wants to inform Mr. Speaker. Let him inform him.
Junet, you have information for...
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I want to inform the Honorable Chair that he has been meeting the CS for the last 5 months, Mr. Speaker, and they have not been having any information. And the way he is now putting his case here, he's putting like a union negotiating with their employers, Mr. Speaker, that we can release 4 billion now, we can release 1 billion. Mr. Speaker, this is not KNUT or COPET negotiating with TSC, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to inform you that, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, if I knew that was the information, I would not have agreed to take that information. but Mr. Speaker, CDF, for those who do not understand, is an annual stimulus package for our rural areas. When you build a classroom, Mr. Speaker, the fundi will be paid. The material, the bricks, will be bought in the village. The sand will be bought in the village. Those buildings will buy bananas from the local. So money circulates. It's a stimulus that must be taken seriously. And I would like, Mr. Speaker, to insist that you help us to stop this CS from undermining Parliament and CDF. I have told him every time, Mr. Speaker, and he doesn't seem to understand. But, Mr. Speaker, having said that, since you have made this Solomonic, decision, Mr. Speaker, I would like to urge colleagues to remain focused. Let us allow time so that we can get these matters resolved, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker, that we have agreed to resolve the matter. Thank you.
Can I hear member for Wajir?
Mr. Speaker, I should not be threatened first. Mr. Speaker, on a point of order, that the chair CDF is misleading the members. And I want to tell you why. Just listen, I want to tell you why it's misleading. Mr. Speaker, just listen, it is your benefit. I want to tell you why it's misleading you. Mr. Speaker, the chair CDF, when the chair budget and the members of the budget committee can bear me witness, Mr. Speaker, when the
CS Treasury came before the committee, the chair CDF was nowhere to be seen. The person who came to defend the CDF was the CEO board, Mr. Speaker. So it's in order to incite the members while him himself was not in that meeting, Mr. Speaker.
That also, Honorable Soro. Let's hear from varied corners of the Republic. You know, it's.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me also to ventilate on this matter. Mr. Speaker, the issue of CDF is a very emotive issue to us. We are actually within the pandemic period from March last year up to this period. We all remember about the lockdown in the entire country that also locked us out, within our compounds. And when there was resumption of studies in schools, our students went back to school with expectations that their government will be able to help them. We all must agree that within the period that the pandemic was very high, the children's parents were not working. The children's parents were not working. The children who are studying in universities, who are studying in colleges, who are studying in secondary schools, were not working because of the lockdown. Now here we are, full resumption of operations, except the curfew at night, with limited access to the bursaries that is very fundamental to the studies of our kids. Mr. Speaker, if we all show the messages that we receive from our students or from constituents, you will understand why this House is so emotive today, with a bit of some, for lack of a better word, some unruly actions, because we act, I'm sorry. Sorry. Now, you will understand why the members of parliament are today a little bit acting unruly. Mr. Speaker, some constituents are blaming us for lack of knowledge. Out of their lack of knowledge, they believe that we've sat on their bursaries, they believe we start on the CDF, and we are not disbursing. This is happening because there are some constituencies, as Honorable Alice Owome said, that have received funds and are already operating. Mr. Speaker, it's important for me to note that the Budget Committee should not allow itself to bow to pressure, accept a bit of some, sittings with the executive, or rather the minister, and they get something small and come here into this House to convince us to allow the alliance to pass, or the executive bills or anything to do with the executive to pass while we are suffering. Mr. Speaker, it is very wrong to also notice that the leadership of this House, the committee chairman and so many of the leadership of this House, were actually telling us, or rather calling upon us, to pass the revenue as it is, or to go to vote today as it is, and for fear of, or rather for fear of, disciplinary action that would be taken with the president. That is the wrong direction to take. Mr. Speaker, for us as a House and as members of Parliament, what we are fighting for are our people. And what we are saying, Mr. Speaker, is that unless we receive the full amount of the CDF in the next 1 month, we will not go to vote. What we are demanding, the full amount. And if we must get a certain percentage, then there should be equitable distribution. It doesn't make sense that, Mr. Speaker, I receive 8 million, Honorable Alice receives 17 million, somebody else receives 50 million. How do I explain to people, what do I do with my 8 million? I've got over 10,000 applications for CDF bursaries. Whom do I give with the 8 million? I received 8 million the other day when the rest were receiving 17 million. Whom do I give? Who do I, fail to give? So if there should be distribution of some amount of money, then it should be equitable. These things of favorism, that when you sit in the CDF committee, you get the full amount, or you get 50%, of that amount, and you happen to be my neighbor in Kisii, how do I explain to people that Honorable Alpha from the neighboring constituency received 70 million and I received 8, he's giving bursaries and I don't give, simply because he sits in the committee of CDF? That should be relooked at. There shouldn't be favorism. It should be equitable distribution. If we receive 10 million, let each of us get 10 shillings. If we receive 20 million, let each of us get that 100 shillings. The element of giving one member 50 million and another member 5 million should stop. That is all, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Russell.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, sometimes when you sit here, you may wish to know that the Kenya is very wide, so you have to apply your mind all over.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the die is cast, and we as members of this House, our position is very clear. We are not prepared to pass the appropriation bill if there's no CDF. I think there's no ambiguity. And I think your Solomonic advice to the House is good for the time being. But I think as members, what we really wanted to hear, both from the chairman CDF and also the chairman budget, is when will these monies arrive in our accounts? Honorable Speaker, some of us have served the second term, others have served longer. The problem in this House, and we should not be looking away, is when the chairs and leadership of this House are in bed with the executive, then this House will suffer. This must stop. Honorable Speaker, Article 95 is very clear. You are a stickler for both the Constitution and the Standing Order. CDF is about our people. It is a matter of great concern to the people. What Honorable Amunyinyi said, many of the vulnerable members of our communities, their children are not in school because they cannot afford to pay 5,000-6,000 shillings. And they used to be helped through CDF. For that reason, I think you have already alluded to putting a stay over on this particular matter. But we also need some assurance that when are we meeting? When is this matter of CDF is going to be put forward as a priority for this House? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Embakasi South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these funds for the CDF are very, very important to some of our constituencies. Actually, all the constituencies in Nairobi and all the constituencies in Kenya, I misspoke. Mr. Speaker, some of us come from very, very poor constituencies, or our residents are have low earners. When you tell somebody from Mukuru that they will not get their bursaries because the CES of Finance had decided to redirect the funds to somewhere else, Mr. Speaker, that is wrong. What we want is for the Budget Committee to please make sure, and also under the CS, to ensure that the entire fund of CDF is in the budget, the supplementary budget. Anything short of putting the entire fund in the supplementary budget, I'm sure this House will continue to relay the message like they have relayed today. So, Bwana CS, also there are arrears. Don't come and give us stories about some act being superior to other acts. We have CDF Act passed by this Honorable House, and that's the act we'll continue to follow. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
What? Oh, no. Okay, member for Muranga, you want? You have 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, clearly, there is a problem with Treasury. Mr. Speaker, yesterday we were recalled as the chairs to go and relook at the supplementary budget, and I happened to meet with the CS Treasury. Mr. Speaker, I was shocked by the attitude of the CS. I met him when they were having lunch with the team of CDF. And after that, he came and met the budget committee. Mr. Speaker, even when there was a chair for environment, trying to explain to the CS Treasury how they had met with the ministry, he was quite rude to ask to the chair of environment. And I think, Mr. Speaker, as we go on recess and if we even talk about the revenue, I can clearly say the House has no problem with the division of revenue bill, but we need, Mr. Speaker, to relook at the attitude of the CS Treasury. We also need to check how Treasury is working. I don't think the problem is money. The problem is how we are allocating money from the Treasury. And Mr. Speaker, even ourselves as the chairs, we cannot be sitting with the ministries. Then we do our proposals to the budget committee just for Treasury to pass things without consulting this House. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say, as we go on recess, allow me to tell the members that we have a third wave of COVID. And as we go on recess, members, let also be careful, because today I was trying to look for a space for somebody in ICU, and all our ICUs are full. So, Mr. Speaker, as we go on recess also, as members, let's take care. There's a third wave of COVID, and let's be safe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, members. Order. No, honor members. Honor members. Many of you have urged me to use standing order number 1. But if you read through standing order number 1, it applies to situations where there is no specific provision in the standing orders. Now, once you commence the process of voting in the House, as happened this evening, that process is provided for between standing order number 69 to standing order number 76. And the division bell was rung. Now, what the next step was for the doors to be locked and the bar to be drawn. So honor members, we are now to go to, because it couldn't proceed otherwise. But I must thank you, honor members, that it appears that the reason has prevailed. And what you have said, I'm sure, those who care to listen to what the House says have heard. And if they haven't, honor members, when we next sit, what will happen is I will put the question again. There will be no debate. It is just the question to be put again. And if they have not, as long as there's quorum in this matter is only 50 members. You can see it's more than 100 who are here today. This should send a very clear signal to whomever it is that is the cause of this anxiety that we've witnessed in the chamber today. And therefore, honor members, I want to thank you because you have allowed the House and yourselves to go to recess, short recess, at the risk of, from what I'm hearing, a special sitting But the leader of majority is advised that if that special sitting does not, in the first instance, address the issues we've raised, it's likely to be you are like the House is in a mood of doing something called RTS. Return to sender, isn't it? That I guess is the mood in the House. Yeah? So anybody who cares to listen, and if people have to take the House seriously, that message is now loud and clear. It is not fair. Today's financial year is only just about three and a half months. Surely, nobody can explain how the CDF funds for this financial year have not been disbursed to some of the constituencies. And in some, those for the last financial year. I think it's a situation that must not be allowed to obtain at all. Message is sounded clear. Honourable members, it's time to adjourn the sitting of the House. The House stands adjourned until Tuesday, 23rd of March, 2001 at 2:30 p.m.